Similar to our great news on trade yesterday, today is a good day. It's a good day for Canada. It's a good day for Canadian workers, about 10,000 of them, in fact. Now, before I became Prime Minister, I gave a speech on Canada's energy industry. It was 2013, and during that speech, I said one of the Government of Canada's most important jobs is to open up overseas markets for Canadian resources. We are, and always have been, a trading nation. Millions of middle-class jobs depend on it. It's also true that we can't build energy projects like we did in the old days, where the environment and the economy were seen as opposing forces. Those days are gone. What people didn't realize then, and what some people still don't understand today, is that in the 21st century, we don't have to choose between a healthy environment and a strong economy. They must go together. And today is proof of that. It is proof that our country's rich natural resources and talented workforce can make Canada an attractive place for investors to do business and support a clean growth economy. Today's announcement by LNG Canada represents the single largest private sector investment in the history of Canada. It shows what's possible when you collaborate and consult with Indigenous and local communities, when you coordinate all orders of government, and when people insist on economic, environmental, and socially responsible development of our natural resources. A $40 billion project, LNG Canada will mean 10,000 jobs at the height of construction, tens of billions of indirect government revenues, and hundreds of millions of dollars in construction contracts for First Nations businesses. And I'd like to congratulate the Haisla Nation and other First Nations for all their leadership and hard work to ensure that this project became a reality. LNG Canada will have the lowest carbon intensity of any large-scale LNG facility in the world. And we know LNG produces about half the amount of carbon emissions as coal. So by sending Canadian LNG to markets that are today powered by coal, we will help those jurisdictions transition away from this energy source. I want to specifically applaud my friend John, Premier Horgan, for committing to ensure that the development of LNG in BC is consistent with our national climate plan and with the province's own climate goals. We are united in our commitment to cutting pollution, just as John and I are united on so many things for the future of British Columbia and our country. Just as we are united in acting to seize the generational opportunity to develop a new sector, like LNG, that stands to benefit all Canadians, whether they live in Kitimat, in Calgary, or in Halifax. We talked about competitiveness. We talked about getting this project done right for communities, for Indigenous peoples, for the environment, for investors, and for Canadians. With every meeting, I walked away more and more confident in what Canada had to offer this group of joint venture partners, 5 companies from 5 different countries around the world. And with every meeting, I walked away more and more confident in what this project had to offer Canada. But meetings and good relationships aren't quite enough to secure the largest private sector investment in our country's history. Our government took decisive action to get this project across the finish line. We're committing $275 million for initiatives that will ensure that this project sets the world standard in things such as infrastructure, marine protection, and enhancing environmental performance. We're also committed to ensuring trade barriers don't get in the way of this once-in-a-generation investment. Let's be clear. Shell and its partners did not make this $40 billion investment in Canada as a last resort. It was a choice. It was a vote of confidence in a country that recognizes the need to develop our energy in a way that truly takes the environment into account and that works in meaningful partnership with Indigenous communities. I have said this before, but it bears repeating. There will come a day when traditional energy sources will give way to clean energy sources, just as LNG is now replacing coal. And as we move forward with this transition, we have two critical responsibilities. The first, to leave a cleaner planet and a healthier environment for our children and grandchildren. And the second, to do everything we can to prepare our people, our communities, and our economy for what lies ahead. Here in Canada, that is exactly what we are doing. Companies in Canada are investing in new technologies to make our oil and gas production cleaner. And Canadian companies are leading the way in developing clean energy innovations like the next generation biofuels and advanced batteries for electric cars. All of these examples both create jobs and protect the environment. Which brings me back to my original point. Canada is a country that understands that environmental leadership and economic growth are inseparable. It is an approach that LNG Canada embodies, and I thank Shell and all the joint venture partners for their leadership. And my friends, it is an approach that helped attract, again, the single largest private sector investment in Canada in the history of our country.
It is truly a great day for BC. It's certainly a great day for northern British Columbia to be here with Crystal, with Phil, from the community, Indigenous, non-Indigenous, speaks to the power of the joint venture to have 5 companies come together and demonstrate their confidence in British Columbia is truly a great day. But this didn't happen overnight, nor did it happen over the past year. I, as a historian, took the opportunity to peruse Hansard over the past couple of days preparing for this, and I went to 1982 when Minister Bob McClellan of the Socred government announced the first LNG plant to come to Prince Rupert. Well, of course, it didn't come, but that was the first discussion of LNG in British Columbia, 1982. In the 1990s, my friend Dan Miller opened up the Oil and Gas Commission in Fort St. John to open up the potential for natural gas in British Columbia. And in recent years, Rich Coleman worked tirelessly to get a final investment decision here in British Columbia. This is not about one government. This is not about one person. This is about a commitment from the people of British Columbia to our resources and to do what we can to make life better for British Columbians, make life better for Canadians, and make life better for people around the world. It truly is humbling to contemplate a $40 billion private sector investment in northern British Columbia at a time when northern British Columbia desperately needs a vote of confidence. For too long, whether it be the beetle kill in our forests, whether it be downturns in the mineral and metal prices, we have struggled in northern BC to meet the challenges of growth, to make sure that people can stay and live and work in their communities. Today, LNG Canada has sent a signal to the people of the world that British Columbia and Canada are open for business, and that the people and the ingenuity and the resources of British Columbia are there to make life better for everyone. It truly is inspiring. And again, I want to pay absolute tribute to the Haisla people, to Ellis Ross, my colleague in the legislature, to Crystal, for their perseverance and commitment to ensure that they worked across the north to spread the story of opportunity and potential for greatness in northern British Columbia as a result of this massive investment. As you may have heard earlier today, the largest in Canadian history. When we came to government last year, I made 4 conditions to our approach and approval to liquefied natural gas development, and they have all been met. Firstly, we wanted to ensure that Indigenous people were full participants in the process. LNG Canada went out of their way to ensure that that happened. I wanted to make sure there were good jobs for British Columbians and Canadians. That has been committed to as well. There needed to be a return to the people of British Columbia for the resource that, of course, belongs to all of us. That also has been met. And the challenge now for the Prime Minister and I and all policymakers is to ensure that we can fit the emission profile of this project within a robust and aggressive climate action plan that will meet not just the needs of British Columbians and Canadians, but in fact the world, and I believe we can do that as well. It is truly inspiring to see a room full of people that have come together with one purpose, and that is to create prosperity in British Columbia and Canada, to ensure that we do it in a way that's fair and balanced, and that we can have economic development and protect our environment, our air, our water, and our land. People say over and over it can't be done. This room is testimony to that. The final investment decision by Andy and his team and the joint venture partners is testimony to that. This is a spectacular day for all British Columbians. Again, not one that happened today, not one that happened yesterday, but over the past number of decades, perseverance, the Canadian spirit, our ingenuity, our people, our resources have come together for one of the most extraordinary days I can imagine. I can't tell you how proud and pleased I am to have the opportunity to lead a government that's working with both levels, federal, provincial, municipal, Indigenous, to make life better for the people of this great province. Thank you so much for coming. I can't stop smiling. Thank you very much.
On behalf of our entire nation, we extend our deep gratitude to Shell, Kogas, Petronas, PetroChina, and Mitsubishi for the investment being made in Haisla territory. Thank you to the provincial and federal governments and other First Nations leaders that have created an environment that supports the success of LNG Canada. Haislas, Kitimat, Musmajith, Gyukalut, Angwa. History is unfolding before our eyes. A vision of a great leader, Heber, the Big Deal Maitland, is unfolding before us. We are having a share, and we are having our say. Thank you to our staff for all of your support and dedication to ensure that we provide our Gyukalut a world of opportunity in our traditional territory. You are our foundation to reigniting the strength of our culture and our people. To our past and present leaders and our visionaries who dedicated your time away from your families for the betterment of our nation, your leadership and dedication to our people that helped trailblaze this journey. Gyukalut, our time is now. It is our time to reignite the true strength of our culture, our language, and our Haisla identities. Our vision of a powerful and prosperous nation begins with you. You as a Haisla individual, our youth, our children, our grandchildren are watching. We are a part of change, a part of history. Gyukalut, our time is now. Thank you.
Just over 6 decades ago, Kitimat was the location of the largest private sector investment in Canada when Alcan built the aluminum smelter. We are here today now to celebrate with LNG Canada and all of you, again, the single largest private sector investment with LNG Canada in Kitimat. On the marvel of industry, we see that this is not just a great investment for Kitimat, but this is an investment in all of BC. This is an investment in Canada. LNG Canada really deserves the accolades for the amount of work that they have put into ensuring that local hires are first. They have worked on apprenticeships, they have worked on scholarships, they have worked on early childhood education to see that even single parents have an opportunity to increase their quality of life by working on this project. They have done an outstanding job in consultation, in communication, and collaboration with all the communities involved. And they have really shown and set a standard for what it takes to go out and get a project done these days. They truly deserve a round of applause for the amount of amazing work they have done. On the marvel of nature part of our community, this is absolutely a project that fits in with that too. The people of Kitimat truly understand that we do not live in a bubble. We are breathing the same air all over the world. And this is our opportunity to allow economies in Asia and elsewhere to not have to burn coal and to burn the cleanest burning fossil fuel out there. We would all love to be on hydropower, solar power, wind power, and all the other renewables, but clearly on a global scale, we are not there yet. And this is the absolute best opportunity to save Mother Earth in the meantime. Thank you very much, and congratulations to everybody.
I have the honor of speaking to you this morning on behalf of the LNG Canada joint venture and the many people that have worked so hard to make this announcement possible today. When I was asked how long will I be speaking for, I said I'll speak for 1 second for every week that I worked on the project. And this morning I'm going to take all 5 minutes that allows me. There's been considerable speculation and reporting about in the media about today's event. And I'm delighted to confirm unequivocally that the LNG Canada joint venture participants, as they sit in front of you today, at 18 minutes past 9 last night, took an unconditional FID investment. LNG Canada is immediately today moving into construction. This means that we have in place the export license from the National Energy Board, that the joint ventures have made their gas supply arrangements into the project and also their marketing arrangements, that we have all the required environmental approvals from the Canadian Environmental Assessment Agency, from the Oil and Gas Commission, from the Environmental Assessment Office, and also from the Department of Fisheries and Oceans. It means that we have in place all the agreements with 25 First Nations. It means that we have in place the power supply agreements with BC Hydro, land agreements with Rio Tinto, that the engineering designs have been done, that the construction contracts are in place, and that we have all the agreements in place for TransCanada's Coastal GasLink pipeline. With this FID today, 3 dreams are realized. The first one is it validates the reality that in BC, projects can be done if it is done in the right way when it comes to resource development through a process of building relationships before we build the project. The second one is that we've taken the first FID for a British Columbian LNG project to show Prime Minister that it can be done in Premier Horgan's province. And we will also that comment was meant to unite, not divide. And we will also deliver the lowest carbon in terms of intensity LNG in the world so that LNG can play a key role in the energy transition ahead, taking LNG from British Columbia to countries that need new and cleaner alternative solutions for producing power. LNG Canada proves today that British Columbia, the beautiful province of British Columbia, and Canada can monetize our significant low-cost natural gas resources, that we can access new markets in Asia, that BC and Canada can attract foreign investment, that BC and Canada can deliver competitive energy projects and take a place on the global map of LNG exporting countries. With FID, LNG Canada would represent one of the most significant energy investments in Canadian history. But more important than that, we may not be able to help Canada to become the largest energy exporting country in the world, but we certainly want to help this province and this country to be the best. And this investment decision demonstrates that Canada is and can be competitive, that we can balance economic development and environmental sustainability, whilst in the process of doing so, bring opportunity to First Nations, to Northern British Columbians, the province and the country. But in addition to being the best, we also want to be the safest. Between the plant, the pipeline, and the module fabrication yards in Asia, we will have about 120 million exposure hours, hours in which a worker could be exposed to an injury. And we've made a commitment to becoming the safest project on Earth so that every day, every woman and every man who works on a site go home safely to their families. As we stand and sit assembled here in this hall today, it takes a village to build a mega project. And today, that village is Canada, and we celebrate the success together. And I want to recognize and thank everyone who has played a part in getting to today's announcement. Firstly, the absolute dream team of a joint venture led by Shell, Petronas, PetroChina, KOGAS, and Mitsubishi, that the power of insight into Asia, the power of insight into energy, the power of insight into and presence in LNG is just special. And that's why this project has happened. Secondly, I want to thank the Kitimat community, the business community, labour groups, and the countless others who've helped to make this happen. But specifically, I want to extend a special thank you to the 25 First Nations along the pipeline route and the plant and along the shipping route, many of which are present here today, for their support, and particularly the Haisla Nation, in whose traditional territory our business site lies. This village is also going to be built by some business partners. JGC Fur will build the plant and will require 7,500 highly skilled BC and Canadian women and men. We've asked them to construct Cedar Valley Lodge, where the workforce will be accommodated, to make sure that it is welcoming to women and to Indigenous people. BC Hydro will supply clean hydropower. Rio Tinto has made some of their land available to LNG Canada, and Haisla Leadco, Haisla Servco, and Haisla Triton have helped us to prepare the site. A truly cooperative effort. I spare a special word this morning for TransCanada Pipelines. We cannot produce LNG in Kitimat without a reliable means to transport it across the Rockies and coast mountain ranges. During the early hours of this morning, we authorized TransCanada, represented here today, to begin construction of the Coastal GasLink pipeline.